You know how some stories just seem to disappear? They're huge and then they're gone. But every once in a while, one of those stories comes roaring back, bigger and louder than ever before. Today, we're going to break down the anatomy of how that happens.
And that's the big question, right? For nearly a decade, this case was, for all practical purposes, closed, finished. So what changed? What was the spark? What were the dominoes that had to fall to bring this all back into the national spotlight? Well, that's exactly what we're going to unpack. Okay, so to really get how this story came back from the dead, we have to start with the silence. We have to understand the period when a very controversial legal deal seemed to have shut the door on this thing for good. And this timeline, man, it really puts those quiet years into perspective. In 2008, this non-prosecution agreement gets signed. Case closed. And then, crickets. For almost a full decade, there's just public silence on it. But then, right at the end of 2018, something begins to shift. A little bit of reporting starts to pop up, asking questions about that original deal, and it set the stage for everything that was about to happen. And that brings us to the spark, the thing that lit the fuse. And what's so critical to understand is that it wasn't a new event. It was an act of investigative journalism. It was reporters deciding to take a look at a story everyone else thought was over and just pull on a loose thread. This is really where the story takes a massive turn. See, these reporters didn't just rehash the old facts. They went back to the very beginning, digging deep into that 2008 agreement. They found new information, sure, but more importantly, they completely reframed the story. They started asking a question that changed everything. Was this really justice, or was something else going on here? And this quote just nails that shift in narrative. The story was no longer about a simple plea bargain. No, now it was about a secret deal. It was about connections and influence. It was about power being used to potentially block justice. That change in how people saw the story, well, that was everything. So that journalistic spark, it did more than just create headlines. It created an opening. It was like a signal to people who had been silent for years, telling them that maybe, just maybe, this time would be different. This is the exact moment the dam began to break. And we're not talking about a trickle here. It was a flood. A huge number of new individuals who felt emboldened by this new reporting finally felt like they could come forward. And these weren't the same voices from a decade before. No, these were new accounts, new stories, and they added this incredible weight and urgency to the whole thing. And what was so stunning about these renewed allegations was how consistent they were. The source material points out that you had accusers, complete strangers to one another, describing almost the exact same patterns of abuse. Their stories stretched across different decades, different locations, but they painted this one cohesive and frankly terrifying picture, a picture that even included a whole network of enablers. So with the new reporting and the new voices, the story entered a totally new phase, a full-blown chain reaction. What started in just one newsroom began to snowball, picking up speed in the media and grabbing the public's attention like never before. So how did this chain reaction really play out? Well, it all started with courage. That first report was like a shield. It emboldened other people to step out of the shadows and tell their own stories, knowing that this time they weren't alone. And that's when the media feedback loop kicks into overdrive. Once the story was out there, it wasn't just one outlet anymore. Suddenly, every major news organization was launching its own investigation, trying to uncover new details. They were all competing, and that just kept adding more and more fuel to the fire. All that intense media focus, of course, spills over into the real world. The story is on every TV screen, it's all over social media, it's what people are talking about. And all that talk turns into public outrage. And that outrage starts to focus on one single demand: accountability. And that, right there, is the tipping point. The public pressure becomes an unstoppable force. You have credible new testimony combined with this intense, sustained public demand. It created a situation where, for the authorities, doing nothing was simply no longer an option. So, where did all of this lead? Let's get to the final stage in our explainer, the official response. All of that pressure from the journalists, from the accusers, from the public, it finally forced the hand of the justice system. And this just lays out the domino effect perfectly. It all starts with that public pressure. That pressure leads to an official review of all the evidence, both new and old. That review gives federal prosecutors in New York the green light to open a brand new investigation. And that investigation leads to the one thing that seemed impossible just a year before: new federal charges.
So we've seen the whole anatomy of how this story resurfaced. And it really leaves us with a pretty big question to think about. What does this whole chain of events, from a quiet deal to a journalistic spark to a chorus of voices to a massive public outcry, what does it really teach us about the complicated dance between truth, power, and the absolutely vital role of a free press?